Now I have the pleasure of introducing Shadab, who is going to read from the book.
Hello everyone, good evening, assalamu alaikum, adab. This is really too special for words. We're all poets and we love words and we work with words all the time. But this is so beautiful. I know that I'll be thanking you individually later for making this happen. But I want to thank Shameen for putting together the celebration. And I was just telling Sandra that writing the book was easier than putting the celebration together. But thank you, each one of you, for being here and making this so special for me. I'm going to read a little bit from the book, and you did such a beautiful job reading things from the book that I feel like, we're done. But I'm gonna read a little prose, and then I'm going to read a ghazal as well. So this prose piece, this essay is called Silk Road Sharbat. A recipe written on a clear glass samovar of Ottoman sharbat remains with me long after the trip photos have been downloaded, enjoyed, and forgotten. The place is the tree-lined alley in Istanbul's Sultan Ahmed district, between the mosque and the Grand Bazaar, at an artisan fair, a mela, as in melu, or coming together in Urdu. Small flowers and fruits float with crushed eyes, wafting behind the words. Transfixed like the letters on the urn, I say the names out loud in Turkish and English several times, recalling their linguistic cousins in Urdu, Persian, and Arabic. Later, I collect the missing names from friends and complete the list. So I'm going to read the list in English. Pomegranate, raspberry, tamarind, cherry, ginger, strawberry, rosewater, rosehip, cinnamon, carnation, clove. Variations of sounds as well as place tags such as Tamar Hindi, from which tamarind comes, Arabic for the date of India. Tut Firangi, strawberry, Persian for Frankish or foreign berry, dar chin, cinnamon, or the Chinese tree bark. Symphonize history with the music of everyday names, evoking the times of the Silk Road, centuries of commerce and civilizational confluence, clash, and eventual commingling. The ancient Qissa Khani Bazaar, or the market of the storytellers, is the first fragment of the lengthy history of the Silk Roads I learn about. Peshawar, a gateway to India, an outpost of the famous trading route, remains the small city of my childhood with half the heart of a trader, with half the heart of a trader, the other half split into storyteller and warrior, due perhaps to its geography and imperial past, a fierce restlessness in its air. My last home, a few miles away from the Khyber Pass, overlooks the Hindu Kush mountains through which Alexander the Great entered India. At age 9, I visit the Grand Bazaar of Istanbul for the first time, en route to America and England. The gorgeous copperware and carpets remind me of Peshawar, and the heaps of hazelnuts and chocolates and the itinerant cats of Istanbul are vaguely Western. I have the correct impression I'm at a crossroads, though I have no clue of its historical significance yet. And now, here again, as I sip the sherbet, and take in the names of various fruits, roots, herbs, and flowers grown and known first in ancient China, India, Persia, the Mediterranean, or Central Asia, passed on over the centuries across the networks of trade routes stretching from China to Europe, combined in an imperial drink. I also take in the singular flavor of hybridity leading to the synesthesia underlying language. Isn't anar, the jeweled fruit of miniature painting and proverbs, a startling red with nar, the Arabic word for fire, in it? And anarkali, the fruit's bud in Urdu, a cultural motif signifying beauty? And Ruman, Arabic for pomegranate, also the word for romance in Urdu, though likely from the Latin root of Rome. And are not the seeds of this spectacular fruit so much like garnets, possibly bearing a resemblance via Latin to the word pomegranate in English? And rasbhari, meaning full of nectar in Urdu, derived possibly from Sanskrit, nearly the same as raspberry in sound. And isn't it curious that imli, tamarind, is similar to the date in texture and color, but altogether different in taste, one being very sour, the other being very sweet. Yet all the words for it on the list are related to the Arabic tamar hindi, the Indian date. And isn't shahdana, cherry, or king grain reminiscent of the Syrian king who imported cherries in silk pouches carried by homing pigeons? One could go on and on, which is the supreme gift of this enterprise of searching for origins and mutual influence to a poet. Besides the two bazaars of my childhood, there is a third famous bazaar that belongs in this story, one which is directly related to how Urdu found its shape. It is the Urdu Bazaar in Delhi, the marketplace near the imperial Mughal palace. I have yet to see it, but the multiplicity of full-fleshed sensory associations of distinct cultures by way of taste, texture, scent, and sonic sensibility reaches me through the lexicon and floods my mind with images of Urdu's cultural heritage. Another sharbat recipe comes to mind. And this is the Mughal sharbat. It's a Mughal summer sharbat. It's recipes specifically for summer. Milk, saffron, almonds, cashews, pistachios, melon seeds, poppy seeds, green cardamoms, rose petals, cinnamon, black peppercorn, sugar. And I'm going to read a ghazal, and this ghazal is based on a photo that we all know very well. It's an iconic photo that was published in the National Geographic. It's the photo of the Afghan girl. You know the photo with this little girl wearing a saffron veil, a burnt and torn veil. This girl's actual name, her real name is Sharbat Gula, but Steve Curry, when he took the picture, he didn't know, did I say that the photographer's name right? Oh, Curry? Okay. So he took that picture and the picture became very famous and it became iconic of suffering, all kinds of suffering worldwide, refugees, suffering of orphans of war and so on and so forth. But he didn't know her name even. And he wanted to go back, and so he went back to Peshawar 30 years later to find that little girl. And it was very hard, but he finally found her, and he took more pictures of her as an adult. So her name is Sharbat Gula, which means the liquor of flowers. And this ghazal is a little different from the typical ghazal, which is a string of sort of epigrammatic couplets. They're, each couplet is a poem in itself. This one is a little different because the theme is the same. And there is a subgenre of the ghazal called the musalsal ghazal, which has verses that are based on the same theme. Okay, so I grew up in Peshawar, as you know, and not very far from where this refugee camp was. And I realized that I'm the same age as this little girl. So I was, when this photograph was being taken, I was not very far from this event. Ghazal for the girl in the photo. You became the girl with the piercing eyes when you found your country swiped by a stranger. You became the girl with the piercing eyes when you found your country swiped by a stranger. In Kabul snow, a missile turned your mother into coal. Your last tears were wiped by a stranger. A garden once hung from your name like the perfume of wild apple blossoms, phantom tulips. A garden once hung from your name like the perfume of wild apple blossoms, phantom tulips. In the refugee camp, are you sharbat gula, liquor of flowers, or a number typed by a stranger? Your eyes teach how cold flint ignites a flare, how a father's bones become an orphan's roof. Your eyes teach how cold flint ignites a flare, how a father's bones become an orphan's roof. History writes itself clear as cornea, the promise of cornea, your green glare. No whitewashing, no hype is stranger. Pity the empire that failed to decipher the disdain in your eyes, the hard stare of war. Pity the empire that failed to decipher the disdain in your eyes, the hard stare of war. Pity the first world's pity, the promise of friends who show up as every type of stranger. Pity the empire that failed to decipher the disdain in your eyes, the hard stare of war. Pity the empire that failed to decipher the disdain in your eyes, the hard stare of war. Pity the first world's pity, the promise of friends who show up as every type of stranger. Zeist, return to the arms of memory, the riddle of its minefields, velvet lullabies. Zeist, return to the arms of memory, the riddle of its minefields, velvet lullabies. To the lilt of this land, its lyrical storms, its bells and bagpipes, you're no stranger. Thank you so much.